I mean, my journey is kind of user driven. I'm just happy that I get to make stuff and people enjoy it. So I kind of just wait for them to yell at me long enough to figure out what my next step is.
Welcome to Log Off. Everyone has an internet story to tell, and today we're getting Tyler Turnbull's. Tyler is the proprietor of Downcycled, an art project in which he turns damaged or forgotten art into modern masterpieces by painting pop culture characters directly onto the canvas. Millions of people have watched his process videos on Instagram and TikTok, and he sells his pieces at tylerturnbullarts.com, where fans can also vote on which paintings should be sold as prints. I'm very excited to talk to him about all that. But first, Tyler, let's start this podcast the way we always do. At the beginning, what is your earliest internet memory?
Hello, first off. Sorry, there will be a cat here and there. I can't do anything about that. My earliest internet memory was, do you remember LimeWire and Kazaa, the pirating apps?
Oh, yeah. Ruined the family computer with those.
Yeah, exactly. So the first memory was I tried to download the music video for Andrew WK's Party Hard song, and it was just like a snuff film of two soldiers. And I'm assuming Middle East, but I remember that it's so intensely. I'm sure there was a lot more internet before that memory, but that just took over. So it started strong.
That one's just seared into your brain. Yeah,
it's there forever, man.
Do you remember what other stuff you were kind of consuming during the early days of having that access?
Yeah, a lot of Flash games. Like, okay. I wish I could. There's Homestar Runner, which was a website I went to all the time, and Classic. He made like funny Flash videos. But then there was another guy that did like games where you put like a hamster in a blender or a microwave, and you press the button, and they sound horrific, but they're cartoony and quite fun. But Joe something I can't remember, but I spent a lot of time on those two websites.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I remember that one. It was, I think it was just called Joe Cartoon, right?
Joe Cartoon. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. He had cool Flash games, a lot of fun stuff. And then Homestar Runner was like a saga. His characters kind of developed as they went.
I think Homestar, they came back on YouTube at one point. I don't know if they're still making stuff, though.
I didn't know that. I'll have to go look. Yeah, I left that a long time ago. Because there were these guys back then that had all these skill sets that were perfect for like transitioning into the newer era of internet, but they all disappeared. I don't know if they just didn't dig it or what, but
I know. I always wonder if people like that got like jobs in Hollywood or something like that doing animation. But
oh yeah, I never thought about that. I hope that's what happened. Because there was like a manicness about them, so I always figured they might also be the type of artist that just ends up on the street and just talks about the days they used to have the computer cartoons.
That was a fun stage before social media too, where you had to go to the homepage and just refresh it and hope there was a new cartoon.
Yeah, there was. I mean, it was no man's land. That was AIM, I think. The only chat service we had was like the AOL Instant Messenger, and I thought that was toxic. Obviously, what we got to now is just far more interesting. But yeah, those days were kind of cool. I miss them a lot. The dial-up internet days.
Do you remember when you started actually creating stuff that might appear online?
Yeah, I actually had. So I used to tattoo, and the scheduling on tattooing is like you work nights, you have all day. So I had a son. I still have a son, but he was like 3 at the time, and I was home all day with him. So we started making little YouTube videos that I would like send off to my family. And there was one I made. It was called Cooking with Kids, and it was me basically going through a really involved process of making him chicken and rice, and then he just wanted chicken nuggets. And the punchline was like, they don't give a shit about your effort. But that video, it was just intended to go to my family on my channel, but it went viral. And I did some interviews with, I think at the time, the news channels had a segment where they would talk about the cool things on the internet. They were trying desperately to capture that younger audience. So I did something talking to them about the video, but I thought it was pretty absurd. And I did not enjoy the amount of opinions that flow in when you have something like that. So I didn't do anything on the internet again for quite a while, other than just uploading my tattoo work for like 8 years.
When you finally did make your return, do you remember what brought you back?
Yeah, I had to be convinced. So when I tattooed, I had like a decade-long career, and it's a stressful job when you do permanent artwork. And I was doing a lot of photorealism, like portraitures of deceased family members, stuff that had high stakes. So I was stressed out, and I would come home and my release would be to paint these. This is just like a side hobby. And my wife kept saying, she was talking about TikTok. I avoided it completely because it would just felt like another time sink. And she was like, I'm serious. You're really weird. I think you do well over there. And she kind of pushed on me for about 6 months till finally I uploaded one of them and it took off, and she was right. Kind of changed everything, to be honest.
How long were you doing that before you got into TikTok? Like before you actually uploaded something?
I want to say I probably did it for about a year.
Okay.
She got into a really big phase of antiquing and thrift shopping, and I hated it. I lamented going, but I didn't want to just tell her no to her hobby. So I'd see the same artwork there for 6-7 months in a row, just collecting dust. I didn't want it either, so I couldn't blame anyone. And then I remembered I had seen an interview, or no, a documentary for an artist named Wayne White. He worked on Pee-wee's Playhouse. He did a lot of the set design and stuff. And he went through a phase where he was painting 3D letters into old thrift store prints of like crass phrases. So it'd be like a beautiful old lady's cabin, and on top it would say like butt stuff. And I thought it was hilarious. So I recalled that one day looking at one. I was like, okay, I'm just going to kind of do that and paint something I like. And my first interest, I think, was nostalgia. I went with the stuff I loved as a kid. And I did it for like a year, and she told me to upload a video, and then it ripped. It's been out of my hands ever since.
What was the first one you did?
I felt like I had a print of it here. It was a painting of a bunch of women in dresses, like probably 1750s era. They were in picnic dresses, and they're all just sort of gathered. It was a really cool, busy composition, felt very Renaissance, but I had stuck the Belcher daughters in dresses in there. And I thought it was hilarious. I hung it up in my studio, and I sold it to a client pretty quick. And that's when I realized, like, oh, I think people like these. And I just kept going from there.
What is your art background? Because like you're a professional tattoo artist, obviously, like you're really skilled at this. Are you like classically trained or?
Not really. I was just every kid drawing in class, failing out, and sketching while I was supposed to be taking tests, and that didn't really benefit me much for a while. My father he's Southern conservative, so art makes no sense to him, but he's also just super supportive of me no matter what I'm doing. So he would drive me to these private art classes when I was like 8 years old I think I was about 10, but he would just drop me off with like 4 or 5 other people in this private class. And this guy would instruct me on shading and shapes, things like that. So I learned the basics, and then kind of let it go throughout my teenage years. I don't think I did any art at all. And then I can't remember what got me into tattooing. Oh, my sister dated a tattoo artist. I was about 17 years old, and I remember seeing his lifestyle, and I was like, this dude makes art and has a cool schedule and actually makes money. So maybe I'll get back into it. So that was the catalyst for me to take what little I knew from my childhood and start practicing some more. It took me a little while, I think, until I was comfortable to actually try.
Yeah, the execution seems so important about this, because I feel like it's one thing to have this idea like, oh, I'm going to add Hank Hill and his family to a painting, but
right.
Actually doing it properly, that's what makes people actually care about it.
Yeah, I think because the concept is extremely watered down. There's not much to it. It's essentially take stuff we all know and love and then stick it in a painting. Haha, we're all laughing. But I will admit the absurdity of how much effort I put into it I think it juxtaposes nicely, because you look at it and you're like, oh, that's a silly idea. But also, did he spend 40 hours doing it? So to me, that's what makes it so fun. And also the challenge, though, I will admit, when I used to just paint like blank canvases, which a lot of people, the first critique is always, why don't you just paint the whole thing? But to be honest, there's not as much challenge there. To see something painted already in a style with a color palette and certain values, and then have to match that, it's harder than anything else I've done for how silly it is. It's pretty tough.
Yeah, the process is so interesting. I mean, it'd be one thing to like make these and post photos of the finished product, but you've done a great job of like adding an entertaining element to the process videos. Like, what sparked the idea of documenting it that way instead of just like a photo?
It may be mental illness. It's hard to pin down my mentality towards things. I'm very flighty. So to be honest, if it wasn't for the intense support, I probably would have been off this project long ago and lost love for it. With art, it's like, I think the exploration of art is interesting to me, but devoting myself to a craft is not my personality. So the process for me was essentially, I'm not going to be doing this for long, so I'm going to probably put as little effort into it as possible. So instead of, having like cool music background and then layering out the the video with some sort of explanation of what I'm doing. Instead, you just get like a rant about hemorrhoid cream on top of a Family Guy painting. And it, for some reason, worked. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's definitely the juxtaposition. Like, it's not what you expect. If you're watching it without the sound on, you could never guess what was actually going to come through.
I think that's the comment I get the most is you got to turn the sound on because this is not what you thought it was.
Cheez-Its are a superior snack to Cheese Nips, hands down. This country was founded on the merits of small orange square crackers, and the founding fathers cheesed it only. I don't really know when Cheese Nips came around, but I know they're inherently communist. I also don't know how to explain why, so do your own research, please. But I found them at a very young age, and although I enjoyed them, it made me wonder if there were other flavors of nips that weren't cheese, and I Googled it and I became a man too soon, and thus the divide began. So I believe the confliction of this country starts there. And no, this is not an advertisement. I get this pissed about snacks for free.
Anytime I'm facing burnout, I'll make a video, turn the mic on, whatever's on my mind gets out, and it's going in the video. It's one and done. And then, to be honest, it's kind of cathartic. I also forget what I say. So I'll go to the comments an hour later and be like, man, why are they mad? And then I'll go through and listen and be like, oh yeah, I did say that. Not bad.
Any specific comments that have gotten you in any trouble?
There was one time early on, probably in the first like 6 months of doing this, I had a girl make an attempt to like cancel me. And I literally had to go hunt down what she was upset about. But there was one video, I think I'd gone on a rant about a family member of mine that was diagnosed with Asperger's, which back then Asperger's was the diagnosis. And apparently that really bothered her because it's not the diagnosis now. So she thought I was just being insensitive. And that I had to like go hit Wikipedia and research, like, why is she mad at me? And, she had like 4 or 5 people that were jumping on that were like, this is insensitive. I'm like, he's my uncle. That's his diagnosis. I don't know what to tell you. It was the 1950s. He's lucky he got one. So it's, that was about it though. The rest are just people being upset that I'm too aloof with what I'm doing. I think they think I'm painting on originals of like expensive artwork. So that's the biggest critique is the audacity of it all.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you've had blowback from people saying you're like ruining someone's original work or stuff like that.
Every day. I mean, I do my best to like front run that and say like, I'm painting in a print I found. And even in the comments, no, it's not an original. I mean, I believe it or not, have some sort of decorum. I think painting on an original painting is pretty gross. And I see that. I have to kind of like let people know because I'll get tagged and stuff where they're like, hey, you inspired me. And I'm like, ugh, that looks like somebody's hard work. So not great. I do encourage prints. They're mass produced. They were created for the artists to make money. They already made their money. They don't care what happens to it. So that's the best method. But yeah, the critique is always like, how dare you? And I mean, I hear you. If coming from that perspective of painting on an original, that's not great, but that's not what I'm doing.
Where are most of the paintings sourced from?
I have antique stores locally that I go to that, antique stores and thrift stores. The difference is just like the decision of what the price will be, but most antique stores are getting them from the floor of thrift stores before they go out there. So I like those because the frame's usually in better condition. But I've got an inside man on a place out here called Ma'am. She's one of my old clients. She's really lovely. Her name's Melissa, but she'll let me know. They get a lot of artwork in there this is a resale shop, but she kind of gets between the stuff that comes in and the floor to let me know like what's really good. And I'll go buy it. She'll put it on aside and I'll go buy it from her. But I'd say the coolest stuff I get is from her because I didn't realize there's like an entire network of people that will get to thrift stores before the art hits the floor and they'll snag it up. Most of the antique shops you see are doing that, but I had no clue. I just thought it was bad artwork all the time, but there's some really impressive stuff that gets donated.
And then what is the process of finding one that works? Like, do you have a bunch of ideas swimming around in your head and you have to find a painting to make it work, or does it come to you while looking at the pieces?
It's everything. A lot of times sometimes I just really enjoy the painting. So I'll buy it and, I've got a few on behind me is some stuff I've done and some stuff I didn't paint in because I like the print and I don't want to change it. But yeah, a lot of times I'll pick it up because I enjoy it and then I'll bring it home and stare at it and it kind of talks to you and you figure out what works best. I do have a massive backlog of ideas that I want to do. I don't know if I'll ever find satisfaction in that. It's like, I have a list that's just 100 things long and it keeps getting added. So I don't know if I'll burn out anytime soon, but yeah, most of the time I'm just buying the painting because it's really cool and it's neglected and I figure I can do something with it. And if not, it'll go on the wall and, I'll leave it alone.
And are you working on multiple at a time, or is it like you just work on one straight through?
It's one straight through, and I have to do that because if I start spread shotting my projects, I'm not finishing any of them. The discipline I've had to learn doing this is insane, because I was like a 60% guy where I would do 60% of a painting, and then my brain would be like, okay, I know what that looks like, so I'm satisfied, I'm done. And there was no other party involved in my painting. Somebody cared what I was doing, so if I didn't finish a painting, it's not like it was a great crisis to the world. But now, if I tease something and don't finish it, it does upset people. So I've learned to just barrel through no matter how frustrating it is.
You mentioned that the first video you put up really took off. Was there a specific video art painting that really made things go into the mainstream for you? Because you have 500,000 followers now on Instagram. Yeah,
I would say I can't. Well, there's one definitive video that took off more than I ever expected it to, but it was already when I was kind of established. But I've had kind of a consistent hit with everything. I think I've maybe had like 4 or 5 paintings people don't care about. I'm lucky that the videos, whether you like the stuff or not, they're at least interesting or strange enough to follow. So everything does okay. But the one where I painted Bob's Burgers into the Nighthawks painting, that did so well that it was honestly overwhelmed. I had to take a break for like 3 weeks after that. I mean, it was like, you can't even swim through that many comments. And, there's a ratio of really nice comments to really negative ones. And for me, it's probably like a 50-to-1 ratio. It's very manageable. But when the number of comments grows to where you're still getting like 700 negative comments a day, after a while, you're like, I gotta get off. I gotta stop reading these.
Does that make you nervous about your next upload when you have that like surge of new followers?
No, not at all. I think, to be honest, it's just numbers. There's no tangible change in my life other than, well, I mean, obviously I'm comfortable financially. That's the only change I noticed. But other than that, in terms of actual people interacting with me, if I put my phone down, it stops. I mean, there's no change at all. So the number being 200,000, 500,000, it doesn't feel any different. To be honest, I think it's surreal that it's happening, because to me, it's like all in the phone, and then the outside world is unchanged. So it is easy to kind of not get overwhelmed by it, I think. Maybe I don't take it seriously enough. I don't I don't care. I upload, and if it goes well, cool. If not, I move on. It's low stakes, man. I mean, I'm painting. I'm not saving the world, so I'm not too upset if it doesn't go well.
That seems like a healthy approach. You've got so many followers and your content performs so well. I imagine you've had at least some oh shit moments, like when certain people have jumped into the comments. What are those like?
Yeah. There's it happens pretty regularly now where it's somebody I really respect pops in, and it's just like casually having someone really cool at your front door all of a sudden. So I think the coolest one for me is probably Glenn Howerton from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He popped into one, and like genuinely, that's my favorite character on any show ever. I think he plays a psychopath perfectly.
Yep.
But yeah, him popping up was cool. But there's been a lot of moments that I realized that this stuff's getting out further than I thought it would, because it's I mean, now some of the paintings are actually with the people that were involved in these shows, so it's beyond my reach. But if I can be honest, the last like 6 months has just been one long oh shit moment, where it's just there's so much stuff happening all at once, or I'm waiting on certain things that I think are really cool for me, and yeah, I'm in a constant state right now of like, I can't believe it's gone this far.
Has anyone who's in one of the paintings or their characters in the paintings, have they purchased any of them?
Yeah, I try to gift them the paintings, because I also just feel like they gave me so much already. Like, why am I trying to make money off them? So Pat Roach from Trailer Park Boys, he's got him and Mr. Leahy, he's got that hanging at his house. And I really enjoy knowing that he gets to look at that. And actually, Glenn Howerton has his painting now. He's got the one of It's Always Sunny. And Zoe Deschanel has the one from New Girl. So I try my best to give them away, but there are some people who insist. Like Lauren, the creator of Bob's Burgers, his wife bought that one for him, and she would not take that for free. So, she was insistent enough that I just gave her the lowest price I could, because I do feel guilty if they actually buy it. That feels weird. It's like if somebody painted me and then charged me for it, that would feel strange. I don't want to do that to anybody.
Yeah, I don't want to pry into personal finances, but it seems like you're making enough to live off of this, right?
Yeah, the money started coming in when the studio started paying me to paint for promotional material, and they pay pretty well. And if I can sell a print of something, sometimes there's some legality to it, but a lot of the stuff where it's like objects and still lifes and it's public domain paintings that are really old, they're free to be sold as prints. Those do really well, and yeah, I'd say financially, it was a bit of a relief that this took off because I was hitting a point with tattooing where I was having severe back problems. And right about the time where I needed to intervene on that, this took off. So I am comfortable. I'm quite happy with the career ahead of me. And I like working with the studios because they get what I do. They don't do a lot of hand holding or trying to like make me say certain things. And I appreciate them for that.
I love hearing that. You have in your social media profiles, it says one trick pony. Do you have like a second act you want to like unveil at some point, or are you going to try to stick with this because this is what you're known for?
So I try to think of, this is almost feels like a public service. I'm being guided by what my followers demand. When I first started this, I was just goofing off and then they were like, do this. And I did. And then they were like, hey, I want prints. And so I was like, oh, let me figure out how to do that. So now there are definitely things that I would like to do on like an artistic level, but I don't know if I'm going to make that everybody else's problem. I'll probably continue delivering this stuff publicly, but yeah, there's a lot of projects that I want to paint. I have a series of oil paintings I want to do, like just actual blank canvases that are really like emotional Western landscapes, but all of the characters and objects are like old Lincoln log toys. So, you get like a really realistic background and realistic sky, and then like an old Lincoln log tavern with like the drunk cowboy falling off the plastic horse, stuff like that, that I will not subject everyone to, but for some reason that needs to get out of me.
I think you should subject all of us to it. That sounds great.
I might, I'll put it in a story and see how it goes, but I'm certainly so grateful for everyone. The last thing I want to do is just pivot out of nowhere.
I mean, you've turned it into something you can live off of. Do you have any advice for someone who has like a fun idea for an art series and wants to get it off the ground?
Yeah, recognize that whatever you're trying to do has been done and is saturated. So unless you can be so authentic that you're uncomfortable, your likelihood for success can be kind of slim. But I know that most of the people that make it in any facet of art, they're vulnerable. I mean, they just sort of lay whatever's out there. And even if it pisses people off, it still moves their art. They still have success. But I think we've got, especially with social media, we have kind of like a heavy template culture where people will be like, oh, right now the trend is to turn around with your canvas or do this song. And I don't think that's the best idea. You might get one viral video because that's what's trending, but you'll be left in the dust. So be weird, but be really weird and just let it out. And that goes a long way. People want to buy art from weird people.
Do you have a personal favorite piece that you've done?
Yeah. I have one that I don't know if it's aesthetically my favorite. It's actually the one dead center behind me. It's the Spirited Away painted into this old, I guess it's a bathhouse. It looks like a Turkish bathhouse, but that one, for some reason, that show just really appeals to me. That movie, it's beautiful. I think it's one of Miyazaki's best films, and I can't let that one go. I've gotten a lot of really cool offers for it, and even one of the collectors of all the cell animations from that was like, I want to add it to my museum, and I was like, I can't, dude. So that one, for some reason, it just haunts me. I can't let it go. I don't even know if it's my favorite in terms of imagery or like composition. I don't know. It's my white whale.
I guess I have to ask you for your opinion on the AI-ization of those types of works.
Yeah. People are not going to like my opinion on that, but I am not bothered by AI. I mean, let the computers make art, man. It's also, I think the difference is that I've come from a contentious background of art in every step that I was in. Like where just people did not agree with the approach I took to art. So I've never really had an agreeable stance on anything. I did graffiti when I was young. People did not like that, which is, I totally understand. And then I moved to tattooing, and a lot of family members thought that I might as well sell drugs. Like it's just not a respected art form at the time. So then I transition over into this, and, it aggravates people that I'm painting into somebody else's stuff already. which none of these arguments are invalid. I understand all of them. But the point is I keep going because I think maybe the only form of arts I enjoy are the ones where somebody's pissed off about it, I guess. I need therapy. I don't know. But the AI thing, to me, it's a tool. I don't actually see it as like the end of that conversation. I think people are missing that, like, this is an incredible reference tool for people who do want to do oil paintings. I mean, most of the painters I love, they go out and they take photographs. They're not photographers. That's not what they're selling. That's not the end result. That's just the process along the way. And at many points in time, that was considered cheating. Using photography for reference started in like the 60s, and people were not happy about it. That wasn't what real painters did. And now it's completely normalized, and AI art is a great reference tool. And at some point it will be normalized and forgotten about. We'll be on to arguing about the next thing.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, do you think someday that will be normalized? It sounds like you do.
Yeah, for sure. I think we're on our way. I've got a few artists I follow that, like, the telltale signs of AI are showing up in their oil paintings. And, I'm not commenting on it. I love it for them because I know how tedious it is to find the reference you're looking for. At the end of the day, they have a specific language in their paintings that nothing is going to match. There's no ripping that off. And whatever gets them to that end goal is fine by me. I think AI, I also did post-production work for photo studios, which is all photoshopping. And that photoshopping was another form of controversial tooling. Like the photographers, when Photoshop 1 popped up, photographers, it was like the devil invented it himself. So I don't know. I've heard the argument before. People forget real soon.
What are some of the telltale signs that something is created by AI?
So if you do, like, a lot of AI is referencing granular film and like 70s lighting structures. So if you see somebody who's painting and they have like Rembrandt lighting, and then all of a sudden their next series of paintings has like that kind of 70s like rim lighting aesthetic, it's pretty clear that they've switched over to using emulated AI stuff. I mean, you see it all the time. It kind of looks like old 70s film, but like the movements are jarring, obviously. But if you were to take one frame, it's very convincing, but the lighting is completely different from what they usually do. And then, 6 fingers.
Is there anything else you want to cover here about like what you're working on or your journey before we get into the dumb questions I always ask?
No, I mean, my journey is kind of user driven. I'm just happy that I get to make stuff and people enjoy it. So I kind of just wait for them to yell at me long enough to figure out what my next step is. And the next thing I'm going to do is like a compendium coffee table book, because I've had a lot of people tell me they don't really know what they want if they're buying a print. So I'll just toss a bunch in a book and see how they feel about it.
That's going to be great. All right, let's get into our dumb internet questions we ask every single guest. Right. Tab check, Tyler. How many tabs do you have open on your browser right now?
5.
Is that typical? That's nice and low.
I think it's, I keep it low. I get a little, I have quirks, and too many tabs is one of them. I just feel like, it's drawing too much general energy from around me, keeping all those tabs open.
All right, let's get into some of our other questions. When you open your social media apps, what are the algorithms feeding you right now?
Currently I'm getting a lot of stock market doom. That one's fun. I don't know anything about any of that, so I don't know why I'm getting targeted, but all right. A lot of BMW stuff. I'm a big car guy, so the algorithm figured me out there. And then I get a lot of meme video, like meme compilations. I hate how accurate it pinned me, but like, I love all these things. Good job, algorithm. So any meme compilation of like videos of people, falling off a ladder or stuff like that. I don't know why. I grew up as the jackass generation, so it appeals.
I love it. Favorite accounts to follow on social media?
Oh man, I wish I could remember the name. So there's one guy who does traditional Japanese woodworking, and you know what? Even if I could remember his account, I wouldn't try to say his name, so I would butcher it. But he does like old woodworking tooling where there's no power tools. It's all done with like analog saws and chisels. It's beautiful. Oh, man. And then there's another guy who is restoring old antique devices, like an old pencil sharpener or something. He'll break it down and sandblast it, and I get lost in those videos for hours.
Man, you want to drop me the links after this? I want to put them in the show notes.
It's really
I
good.
want to see them too. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to lose like an entire night to it. Like he did a Coca-Cola machine. It was probably an hour long on YouTube, and just I watched every minute of that hour.
That sounds amazing. What is a corner of the internet people might be surprised you're interested in?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Oh, you know what? This might explain why I get so much stock market stuff. But there is a section of Reddit called Wall Street Bets where I'm sure you might have heard of it, but it's just like these hedonistic dudes that will hemorrhage money left and right, and watching them make really poor choices with their finances is funny to me.
Yeah, it makes you feel really good.
Often. Yeah. Yeah, it does. It does. Like I'll make some irresponsible choices, and then I'll go look, and some guy went and got a loan to buy like a 1-day expiration contract, and he lost it instantly. And I'm like, my purchase is fine.
What is the last thing that made you truly laugh online?
Oh man, I got caught in a laugh where I was like crying almost, but it's a video of two kids in a Halloween store, and one of them put on a nun mask, and the other one has like this scarecrow hand with like a 9-inch long finger. And the friend in the nun mask he just makes a bashful face, and the kid jams the finger down his throat while he's making a face. But the like combination of horror, betrayal, and gagging at the same time, I don't know why. It locked me in like a deep cry laugh for about 30 minutes.
That's so good. What is your most scarring moment on the internet, if you can bring yourself to disclose it?
I think I brought it up. It was that unintended snuff video in 7th grade. Like I'm expecting Andrew WK with his greasy hair, and just immediately it's a guy with like a K-bar knife just going to town on another dude. Also, you're so scared of getting in trouble that you don't tell anyone. So it's like that just gets locked deep down, and then I have to build the tools around it to keep that from being a problem later.
Oh yeah, that's one of those where you're trying to find out if there's like multiples of it. What folders is it in? I got to get rid of it.
Yeah. And like in my head, I'm like, yeah, I definitely need to tell an adult I saw that, but also I'm pretty sure I'm getting grounded, so I'm just gonna suppress.
No one's gonna believe you're looking for Andrew WK.
Right? Yeah, they're gonna be like, "What did you type in?" I'm like, "I literally typed it. It was party hard, man," and they did. They partied hard.
How do you pry yourself away from devices or log off?
So these days, I think because my painting is so intrinsically tied with the internet that by the time I finish a painting, it's like I've heard all the comments in my head already. So I pretty much get off before I get on. Like I'll upload a video, reply to like 3 comments, and then I take like 24 hours off. So it's pretty easy to stay away. I act like there's nothing but negativity on there, but I'll go watch like a welding video and it'll just be pure hate for how wrong this person did it. And then I go to my videos and it's like overwhelmingly positive. So maybe I'm just being sensitive, but it's not hard to put the phone down these days. I think I've built a really rewarding relationship with the internet. It's, I upload something, people like it, and then I can come back in a week and nobody's mad that I was gone that long. So it's not too bad. It doesn't consume me like I thought it would.
That's great. Where would you be without the internet?
Hunched over in a tattoo shop at 3 a.m., probably lamenting my life. I have to admit, I'm living a completely different lifestyle than I thought I would because of the internet.
Well, let's hope it doesn't happen. But if the internet went away tomorrow, what's one thing you would try to save or want to save?
Khan Academy.
That's a good one.
Are you familiar with that one?
Yes.
Yeah, that one. I feel like we could rebuild society off that. If we could just save that site, we'll be all right.
At this point, I think you're right. I remember when that was just getting off the ground and it was like just these Blackboard videos.
Yeah.
And there was like 7 of them. And now it's just huge.
Dude, it's multiple universities just rolled into one. And now they have like teaching like courses on it. You can pay for courses. And I mean, I'm glad to see they managed to turn it into like a monetizable structure so it sticks around. Because at first I was worried it was going to get like Wikipedia. But yeah, it's pretty involved. I mean, if I'm ever just sort of curious, I'll go down a rabbit hole, open some quantum physics things, realize I'm stupid, and then go check out other stuff.
Sounds a great way to spend an evening. I think I'm going to do that now.
Yeah, it'll humble you. It'll humble you real quick too.
All right. Thank you, Tyler, for this discussion and for your hilarious contributions to the internet. This is Ryan Perry saying log off. The internet will still be there when you get back.